Francis, danke, dass wir die Gelegenheit haben, jetzt für Jetzt TV ein Interview mit dir zu machen. Ich habe während der Vorbereitung erfahren, dass du einmal Physik studiert hast. Ich habe auch Physik studiert.
Ja?
Wie wirkt dieses Studium jetzt noch, oder die Physik, die Erkenntnisse aus dem Physikstudium jetzt noch, oder welchen Beitrag haben die bei deinem Shift gespielt? Kannst du da irgendwelche Zusammenhänge sehen?
Nein, ich habe Physik studiert, weil ich Fragen hatte über die Welt, über das Sein, und ich dachte damals, als ich 18 Jahre alt war, dass Philosophie konnte diese Frage nicht beantworten. Ich habe diese Meinung hat sich geändert danach, ja, aber damals. Und deswegen studierte ich Physik. Und dann da ich Geld verdienen musste, habe ich mit dem Verteidigungsministerium in Frankreich mit Waffen gearbeitet und damals auch mit deutschen Messerschmitt-Bolgo, mit Erno und gearbeitet. Und dann, nach 4 Jahren, habe ich die Bücher von Krishnamurti gelesen, und das hat alles in meinem Leben plötzlich geändert. Und da Krishnamurti die Waffen und die Kriege nicht mochte, habe ich entschieden, meinen Job zu tauschen, und von diesem Moment ab habe ich nur in zivilen Positionen mit dem französischen Verwaltung gearbeitet.
Du warst, als du J. Krishnamurti las, so um die 30 oder schon darüber? Wie alt warst du da, als du J. Krishnamurti...
Ich war vielleicht 28, nein, 29, ich weiß nicht mehr.
Das ist interessant, also ich habe J. Krishnamurti, das war auch für mich ein wesentlicher Schritt. Ich habe den mit 48, 49 habe ich den gefunden, in Form von Videos.
Ja?
Ja.
Er war eine gute Brücke für mich, weil meine Eltern waren Atheisten, und ich war auch ein Wissenschaftler und ein Atheist, und etwas Religiöses würde ich nie akzeptieren können. Und er war eine Pforte zu Spiritualität, weil er sagte, die Religionen sind nützlos, Gurus, du solltest sie nicht vertrauen und so weiter. Und das mochte ich damals. Und
als ich den Krishnamurti kennenlernte, war das Wesentliche, dass er mein Denken bis dahin einfach in Frage gestellt hat. Ja. Der sagte Dinge wie Zeit sind Gedanken oder
Ja,
die Vergangenheit ist Gegenwart. Zukunft ist Gegenwart. Ja, und das hat mich verwirrt. Einfach, wie kann jemand so etwas sagen? Und das war bei mir so das empfundene Entscheidende, ja, dass plötzlich möglich wurde, es wurde Raum gegeben, dafür ganz anders zu schauen, ja, leer zu werden, diese alten Vorstellungen zu hinterfragen. Ja, das war für mich sehr, sehr, sehr hilfreich. Einfach Frage, ja, was ist das? Ja.
ja,
Bei der Physik hatte ich noch mitgenommen, also die Einsteinsche Formel E gleich mc². Da habe ich im Studium schon gedacht, ja, wenn das so ist, dann sind Masse, Raum und Zeit sind gekoppelt und die intuitive Vorstellung ist, dass das getrennte Dinge sind. Und
ja.
das war auch so ein Moment, wo das normale Glaubenssystem in Frage gestellt wurde.
Ich erinnere mich immer noch, als ich zum ersten Mal die Quantenmechanik studiert habe. Damals würden wir das relativ spät in unseren Studien lernen. Und als ich die Übungen zu lösen versucht hatte, es war etwas ganz anderes, wie wir die Verfassung der Welt nach dieser Aussicht der Quantenmechanik. Es war eine Revolution.
Ja, und da sehe ich Parallelen auch zu dem, ja, was man vielleicht Spiritualität oder den Pfad nennen kann. Ne? Also da ist es auch eine Revolution. Eine langsame oder eine laute, das ist ganz unterschiedlich, aber das, denke ich, ist verwandt.
Ja, ja. Ich denke, dass manche Physiker das, was sie suchen, ist die Wahrheit, ist die Wirklichkeit dieser außerordentlichen Abenteuer.
Ja.
Ich habe so lange kein Deutsch gesprochen. Es ist seltsam für mich.
Es geht aber sehr gut.
Jetzt.
Du hattest vorhin das Wort Spiritualität verwendet. Was verstehst du unter Spiritualität?
Die Fragen über das Sein, über was ist die Wirklichkeit, was ist der Ziel des menschlichen Daseins, woher kommen wir, wonach gehen wir.
Also die Sinnfrage.
Ja, was ist Leben, was ist Tod?
Mhm. Das sind sehr einfache Fragen, fundamental, aber
die Fragen sind einfach.
Sind einfach, ja.
Aber wie kann ich im Frieden sein? Wie kann ich zufrieden sein? Wie kann ich das, was ich irgendwie wisse, ich brauche, wie kann ich es erreichen? Wie kann ich es haben? die Wonne, das Glück. Weil ich denke, dass das Ziel des Lebens klar ist. Es ist Glück, Wonne, Frieden. Alle Menschen sehnen sich danach. So, da alle Menschen sich danach sehnen, muss es das Ziel des Lebens sein. Es gibt keine Ausnahme. Auch diejenigen, die sagen, ich suche die Wonne nicht. Sie suchen die Wonne durch everything sie machen.
Ja. Gut.
Everything.
Alles.
Das hier,
Alles.
ich vermische alles.
Ja.
Was sie,
Ja. So, Sie suchen die Wonne, Sie suchen den Frieden, Sie suchen das Glück, Sie suchen die Freude. Es gibt dann anscheinend einige Menschen, die das dauerhaft haben. Man sagt Erleuchtete, Weise, was auch immer, da gibt es ja viele Wörter. Aber das ist nicht die Erfahrung, die viele machen. Jetzt, was trennt von dieser Wonne, vom Glück, von der Freude? Und wie kann diese Trennung bearbeitet werden? Oder ja.
ein Philosopher, ich denke, es war Jacques Maritain, der hat diese Definition der Philosophie Philosophie ist, das Ziel der Philosophie ist, uns von der Angst des Todes zu befreien, durch Reason, wie sagt man auf Deutsch?
Reasoning, überlegen oder durch den Grund?
Durch Rationalität.
Durch Rationalität, ja, durch Überlegungen.
Durch Überlegungen, ja. Durch das Denken, durch die...
Verstand.
Ja, ja. Verstand, ja, durch Verstand. Und mein Lehrer Jean Klein, er sagte, Philosophie ist die Wissenschaft der Wonne.
Soll das heißen, dass die Philosophie die Antwort liefert?
At least fängt an, die Antwort zu liefern. Vielleicht nicht ganz, weil durch Denken, durch Wörter oder Worte kann man vielleicht nicht ein dauerndes Glück erleben. Aber wir können durch das Denken schon uns von alten negativen Denksystemen befreien. Der Körper muss auch zu der Partie eingeladen werden. sozusagen. Das Denken ist nicht genug. Für diese Befreiung die Sinne und die Gefühle müssen auch befreit werden, indem das Denken befreit wird. Diese Befreiung wird auf allen Ebenen unserer Erfahrung nur in dem Denkorgan sozusagen, aber auch in den lebenden Organen.
Was heißt das für die Praxis?
Wie bitte?
Was bedeutet das in der Praxis? Also wir hatten über Philosophie gesprochen. Das Denken kann da, sagst du, ein bisschen helfen, aber es muss der Körper muss auch befreit werden. Heißt das Meditation? Ist die Empfehlung?
Ja, es gibt viele Traditionen mit vielen verschiedenen Wegen, aber das am Anfang sollten wir uns zu der Möglichkeit eröffnen, dass unser ordentliches Bewusstsein universell sein könnte. Wir glauben, dass unser Bewusstsein, das in diesem Moment diese Worte hört und vernimmt, wir glauben, dass dieses Bewusstsein ein persönliches, ein begrenztes Bewusstsein ist. Dass jeder Körper sein Geist oder Denkorgan hat und dass jeder Denkorgan oder jedes mentale Mind auf Englisch, dass jeder Geist sein Bewusstsein besitzt. Und es gibt eine andere Möglichkeit, dass dieses Bewusstsein, das so persönlich
geglaubt
wird oder erscheint, ist universell, dass alle Menschen und alle lebenden Wesen zu diesem Bewusstsein teilnehmen. Das ist dasselbe Bewusstsein in allen vernehmenden Wesen. Dasselbe Bewusstsein in allen lebenden Wesen vernimmt. We share the same consciousness.
Wir teilen dasselbe Bewusstsein. Das eine Bewusstsein. Wir sind das eine Bewusstsein.
Wir sind, ja. Und am Anfang scheint es unmöglich zu sein, weil wir glauben, dass wir gute Beweise haben, dass dieses Bewusstsein persönlich und begrenzt ist. Aber wenn wir diese Evidenz analysieren, finden wir, dass diese Evidenz nicht keine Strenge hat.
Keine Stärke, ne?
Keine Stärke, ja, keine Stärke hat.
Jetzt kann man natürlich versuchen, diese Evidenz mal ein bisschen abzuklopfen. Also ich kann denken, ich bin ein Körper und habe mein Gehirn und da erscheint alles. Und so hat Francis seinen Körper und sein Gehirn und da erscheint es auch. Und wie kann das ein Bewusstsein sein?
Wenn wir diese Gedanken folgen, vergessen wir, dass alles fängt mit Bewusstsein an. Erst ist Bewusstsein. Zweitens kommt das alles, everything else.
Alles andere.
Alles andere. Und wir können keinen Beweis haben, zum Beispiel, dass dieses Bewusstsein begrenzt ist, weil irgendein Element um das zu beweisen, muss in diesem Bewusstsein aufkommen und durch dieses Bewusstsein vernommen werden. Und alles, das im Bewusstsein aufkommt, kann uns nichts sagen über das Bewusstsein, in dem es einkommt. Die Metaphor, die ich dafür gebrauche, ist die folgende. Die Bilder von anderen Planeten, die bei einem Astronom genommen werden durch den Teleskop, geben uns keine Information über ob das Astronom Mann oder Frau ist, jung oder alt. Das vernommen wird, sagt uns nichts über das vernimmt.
Mhm.
Deswegen, weil alles, was vernommen wird durch Bewusstsein oder wird von Bewusstsein vernommen, kann es uns nichts sagen über das Bewusstsein, das vernimmt. Und deswegen kann uns nicht sagen, ob dieses Bewusstsein beschränkt ist oder nicht, personal oder universell ist.
Ich kann damit etwas anfangen. Ne?
Ja.
Also ist mir klar. Ja? Also jetzt ist nur, wenn ein Mensch mit seinen Alltagsproblemen zu dir kommt und sagt, ich suche Wonne und Glück und Frieden, kann der den Zusammenhang zwischen dem, was du jetzt philosophisch gesagt hast, und seiner täglichen Situation nach deinen Erfahrungen herstellen, oder sind da noch Zwischenschritte erforderlich?
Ich würde diesem Mann sagen, was ist das wichtigste Element in deinem Leben? Wenn du sagst, du hast Probleme, aber was ist das Wichtigste in deinem Leben? Und er würde am Ende sagen, es ist ich. Weil ich bin derjenige, der die Probleme hat. Und wenn ich denjenigen, der die Probleme hat, nicht kenne,
dann habe ich ein Problem.
Ja, dann habe ich die Mutter aller Probleme. Und vielleicht, wenn du denjenigen erkennen würdest, der die Probleme hat, dann würden die Probleme sich verändern.
Ja, das ist der Punkt. Ja.
Um ein Problem zu haben, in Mathematik oder in Physik, sollte man alle Elemente des Problems genau machen, genau haben.
Definieren, verstehen.
Definieren. Wenn ein Element der Probleme undefiniert ist, dann hast du kein Problem.
Da gibt es keine Lösung, ja, da gibt es auch kein Problem. Ja, das ist dann,
weil du keine Lösung finden, wenn das Problem nicht klar ist. So, it is good to have ein Problem, but you must have ein klares Problem. Und da dieses Problem ein Teil dieser Probleme ist, muss es klar zu dir sein, was dieses Ich ist, damit du diese Probleme lösen kannst.
Okay, jetzt bin ich ein Anfänger und sage, okay, über das Ich habe ich noch nie so viel nachgedacht und noch nicht so viel geforscht. Und dann kann ich mir da ein paar Gedanken machen und irgendwelche Sätze sagen, und dann wird wahrscheinlich eine Verwirrung bleiben. Was
bist du? Bist du dein Körper? Bist du dein
Verstand?
Deine persönliche Geschichte, wenn du geboren bist, was für eine Eltern du gehabt hast, in welchem Gymnasium du studiert hast und so weiter? Ist es das Wichtigste? Ist es das, dass du Angst haben, dass dieses Ich verschwinden könnte im Tod? Oder ist das Wichtigste etwas anderes? Ist es nicht wahr, dass das Wichtigste für dich ist dieses Bewusstsein? Dass, wenn du zum Beispiel eine Hand eine Hand von dir, von deinem Körper getrennt würde, das würde nicht etwas Angenehmes sein. Aber wenn du keine andere, wenn du die Wahl wenn man dir die Wahl zu wählen erlauben würde, entweder du verlierst deine Hand oder du verlierst dein Bewusstsein, was würdest du sagen? Du würdest das Bewusstsein, ja?
Das Bewusstsein würde ich da erst nochmal wählen. Ja, da ist noch nicht alles verloren. Ja.
Und es ist ein Beweis, dass das Bewusstsein ist das Wichtigste für uns.
Na gut, jetzt habe ich Probleme und ich weiß zwar immer noch nicht so genau, wer ich bin, aber jetzt ist das Wichtigste erstmal, dass ich glücklich bin, dass ich die Wonne habe.
Ja. Du hast Probleme und wenn du eine Erfahrung des psychologischen Leidens hast, wenn du psychologisches Leidens in dieser Erfahrung du könntest immer finden, dass dieses Leiden, das psychologische Leiden, nicht geschehen hätte, wenn dieses Ich universell wäre. Dass das Leiden immer erscheint, weil das Ich getrennt und begrenzt ist.
Gut, jetzt ich mache jetzt Beispiel. Ja. Jetzt habe ich einen Beruf, ich habe eine Familie, ich habe Kinder, die in Ausbildung sind, Universität, das kostet alles Geld. Jetzt kommt mein Chef und sagt, ich muss dich kündigen. Und dann habe ich ein Problem.
Ja, du hast ein Problem, if du dich von deinem Chef und von deinen Kindern und von der ganzen Welt getrennt zu sein glaubst. Wenn du weißt, dass alles das alles was stattfindet, ist das Fließen der universellen Existenz, wird deine Erfahrung etwas anderes. Und weil da deine Aussicht über diese Ereignisse universell ist, wird dein Problem sich irgendwie lösen. Das Universum wird eine Lösung für dein Problem bringen. Aber wenn du nicht offen bist für diese Möglichkeit, wird es nicht passieren. Und das ist, deswegen sagte Jean Klein, dass Philosophie ist die Wissenschaft des Glückes. In der Tat, er sagte, dass Philosophie is the love of wisdom, and that wisdom is die Wissenschaft des Glückes. Und Wissenschaft meint eine Erfahrung, eine experientiales Element. Eine Wissenschaft hat seinen Grund, ihr Grund in Erfahrung. So, ich weiß nicht, mein Deutsch ist peinlich.
Nein.
Nein. Es wäre viel einfacher auf Englisch.
So, now I'm again that worker who just receives the message from his boss, well, sorry, I have to fire you, and I have no experience or no insights into what you are talking about. So maybe there are some enlightened people, so they somehow got it, but I definitely haven't got it. So what to do?
Well, you have a practical problem, of course, so do your best to solve it. You have been fired, do your best to find a job, and you are not different. But your inner attitude could be very different if you knew that consciousness is universal instead of personal, that this universe is not your opponent, your foe, your enemy, but that you are one with it. And that if you are simply open to the possibility that consciousness is universal, and you keep that in your mind and in your heart, things are going to evolve in a different way, magically. And magically, life will find a solution for your problem. And that will always be the case in your life. And life will do that for you until you are completely convinced that consciousness is universal. Because that's in part how consciousness proves its universality. Through this magical quality of the cosmos. That's the experiential part of it, or the scientific part of it. You can call that miracles, but they are miracles not necessarily in the sense that they are exceptions to the laws of physics, like Jesus walking on water. But they are miracles in the sense that when you are open to this possibility, then life takes turns through which the problems that have seemed to arise for you find their solutions. Either because you find the solution, you apply for a job, you get the job. Or you apply for a job, you don't get the job, but your uncle in America passes away and leaves you an inheritance.
But again, when I'm in that suffering state, and the suffering state itself seems to be an expression of not being open or aware that the consciousness is universal.
Yeah.
So that,
and we make a big deal in our societies, you know. I mean, our fathers who have lived through the war, you know, I mean, for them to lose a job wouldn't be a big deal compared to what they have experienced, because even if you lose a job, you have public support, you will still be taken care of, and tomorrow there will be new jobs when the economy starts again. So we have to take all of that with a grain of salt, you see what I mean? It's not the end of the world, and it shouldn't be the end of happiness.
okay,
Yeah.
we did the job thing. Now let's go to another one, relationships. Huh?
Yeah.
So again, an example, problems with the partner. Partner has some. Let's make an example. Feeling threatened or not understood by the partner, or threatened, having ideas that he wants to overrule me, or wants to, can even be terrorize me, or whatever might happen in these relationship dramas. How to treat that one?
In that case, even if it is true, you are only terrorizing yourself, because you don't have to be in this relationship. There is freedom. I mean, it's a free country. So, if your partner terrorizes you, and if you still want to be with the partner, it is a self-inflicted pain. And I mean, if that's what you enjoy, you know, it's a free country. You take your pleasure wherever you can.
Okay.
But I would say this about a relationship. It is important not to have a relationship with people, but to have a relationship with the consciousness in people. Knowing that the consciousness in them and the consciousness in you are the same. So you don't relate to people, but you speak directly to the consciousness in them. And when that happens, something magical takes place, because the consciousness in them recognizes when it is addressed. When you call him, or when you call her, the consciousness, it resonates. When you have that in your heart, when you interact with people, when you are open as you interact with them to the possibilities that the consciousness in them and the consciousness in you is the same consciousness, something happens. It's like people have an armor of defense.
Yes.
And when you do this, when you address the consciousness in them, it's like a jumping over the armor of defense, and then it's like a child who jumps on your lap before you know it, and the child is there smiling at you, you see, and all your defenses are gone, you see. So that's this beauty in finding the child in people.
Can this be learned, or does it happen on itself when once the universal character of consciousness is clear? Is that the portal?
Yeah, yes, but you can try it, and you can try it, and you will see the truth of what I say. You try it, and then you adopt it. But it's like when I say you try it, it's like a Ferrari you had in the garage and you have never used, you see, and just I'm telling you, just go for a drive, test drive the Ferrari. Then later on you may want, I would say this person, you may want someone to help you drive a Ferrari because it's not easy, and you may have someone who has driven such a car and give you a few hints, and that's the function of a spiritual teacher. But at the end of the day, it is your life, it is your experience, and it is for you to discover how the science of happiness works in your life.
So that sounds like a good remedy, just to say, okay, I meet people and I exercise to meet them in the knowing or in an attitude of we are one consciousness.
Yeah, and you can even exercise that in the privacy of your bedroom. You have your chair in front of you, because your chair is not going to have negative thought about you. So
Yes.
the chair is a good start. And as you see your chair, you embrace your chair inside you. You see what I mean? You are bigger than your body. And you're in this huge body of awareness, you kind of hug the chair until it becomes natural for you that everything which is around you is in fact part of you.
It's in me, yeah? Mm-hmm.
It's in you, yes. And so you can practice this exercise, because then when you are in the presence of people, they will be in you, and if you feel them in you, somehow they will feel that you feel them in you. You don't even have to talk, you see. There is something in them that will open, that will feel. You know, the first time I met my teacher, and I met him in Saint-Paul-de-Vence in the south of France. At the time I was living in Marseille, so on my way back home I had 300 kilometers to drive, and I had the time to reflect upon our meeting. And the thought that came to me was, I don't know whether he's a realized teacher, but I know that I would like him to be my friend.
Mm-hmm.
You see, there was this quality that I had liked about him. It was very natural, and there was, I felt comfortable in his presence. And it's because of this non-judgmental. If you see the consciousness in all beings, how can you judge yourself? I mean, you can judge them, but just as you would judge yourself, and that's not threatening. Mm-hmm. Because you are not judged as being higher or lower, you are judged like you would be judging yourself. You say, oh, oops, I made a mistake. Yeah. Oh, oops, we make a mistake, you see here.
Yeah, I understand this. So being in this openness to see everything is in me, I'm not really separate from that, and then embrace it basically in all encounters, and then this will happen automatically without judgments.
Yeah.
Or without
and doing it as an experiment, not
playing with it. Yeah?
Playing with this possibility, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Because we cannot prove, based on phenomenal experience, we cannot prove anything about consciousness, as we discussed earlier on in Germany, with the metaphor of the astronomers and the pictures taken that couldn't give us any information on the age or on the gender of the astronomer. Anything that appears in consciousness cannot give us any information on the nature of consciousness, therefore cannot give us any clue as to whether the consciousness is separate and personal and limited, or whether it is universal. Based on phenomenal experience, we will never know. Nobody will ever know. It's impossible to know. So how are we going to find out? You see, and the way to find out is, let's say we have lived for 40 years based on the assumption that consciousness is private and limited. Why not, as an experiment, try to live for 3 months from the alternate possibility? You see what I mean? And see what it does for us. You see, and see what it does for us. That's why it's an experimental science, and see what it does in terms of serendipitous events in your life, in terms of satisfying the desire of your mind for understanding, the desire of your heart for love, and the desire of your senses for beauty. You see, and my guess is if you conduct the experiment, if anybody conducts this experiment for 3 months, I mean, before these 3 months, they will be completely convinced. You just have to conduct it.
For me, that makes a lot of sense what you say. I mean, any hints? Is there a book that could accompany a person who tries to go that path, try to play with this assumption?
I have a book in German. The title is Ewigkeit jetzt. I don't remember who is the publisher. Ewigkeit.
Yeah, this can be found on the internet. Yeah.
Ewigkeit jetzt. Yeah.
That would be the recommendation to.
Yeah. I don't know of any books by Jean Klein, but you know, all the books. I mean, the Bhagavad Gita, the poem of Parmenides, the sermons of Weineng, the 6 patriarchs of Zen, the Tao Te King, Meister Eckhart's Predictor. I mean, there are many books. The Ashtavakra Gita.
These are pointers towards what you suggest. Yeah, basically, anything practical that could accompany somebody who does that game. For example, when I came into contact with all this stuff, I had read a book written by a Jesuit person. His name is Franz Jalisch, and he wrote an instruction how to meditate. It was a 10-step approach, contemplative stuff. And first he gave instructions, and then he has, for each step, he had some typical dialogues between a meditation teacher and the guy who meditates, addressing typical problems that might arise in that period. Yeah? Is there something comparable available for your suggestion to play with this embracing or with this assumption there is only one consciousness?
But these questions get debated and discussed during dialogues. That dialogue is the traditional initiation process. We have retreats during which, in addition to the dialogues, we have a meditation and a form of yoga or body approach, which comes from the Kashmirian Shivaist tradition. My teacher, Jean Klein, his teacher was an Advaita teacher in India, but then after that he studied also yoga and also the Kashmirian Shivaist tradition. So for the body aspect, there are all kinds of exercises. I mean, one book is the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra, but which describes exercises. But the book on its own is not sufficient because they need to be explained by a teacher.
Okay.
We have an upcoming retreat in Germany in Weihern in July, and the information can be found on the Advaita meetup group.
Okay. And so basically you would then give an introduction and the first guidance during that retreat
Yeah.
into that direction.
Yeah.
And after the retreat you would be available for further dialogues, or how would it work? How do you work? Or
People,
is it usually finished?
people come and as, you know, I've had a relationship with my teacher for 20 years. And the difference was that after 2 years I was pretty happy with my life. And
Yes.
after 4 years I was very happy. But it was a pleasure to be with him and in the company of like-minded people. For me it was the best form of vacation I could think of, you know, to be with people who are interesting, artists, scientists, writers, homemakers, students, elderly, you know, all kinds from all kinds of races and of parts of the world, and of all kinds of levels of wealth and experience. It's so, and it was so beautiful and so enriching. My connection with my teacher stopped when he passed away. So yeah, we have retreats here in California, and I come to Europe twice a year. In the winter, I'll be in Paris actually, giving a retreat in French and in English, starting this December 17 until 23rd. Then I'll be in Barcelona January 8 to 15, I think, for a retreat in Spanish and French. And then in Florida at the end of January for a retreat in English.
So you're traveling a lot.
I go to Europe twice a year,
Yeah.
and most retreats are in South California, where I am here.
Yeah.
And nice weather. It's sunny out there.
Oh, it's too.
Can you see?
It's too light. Yeah. Oh, now I see the cactus. Oh, the flowers, the plants. Yeah.
Can you see the sky? It's blue.
I cannot see blue. I just can see white. It's a matter of the camera. Yeah.
Sky is so blue. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Another question regarding traumas. So there seem to be some deep injuries in people. Can be different things. I'm sure you know. They have strong grips on people. They are invisible often, it seems, because the pain related to them is too big that they can come up to consciousness. Is there a way of solving this with your approach or your proposal, suggestion to assume that the consciousness is universal? Will this be solved automatically with it, or is special treatment required, or is special treatment possible at all?
Yeah, the real cause of psychological suffering is our sense of separation.
Mm-hmm.
This sense of separation, this belief in separation, has to be eradicated first.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this belief in separation, once it's been eradicated through the experience of our eternal nature as love, as intelligence and splendor, that is the cure. The leftovers then will be dealt with, and we can facilitate this process by using skillful means. But the most important is to stop the bleeding first. It's like when the fire brigade arrives to a house which is on fire, the first thing they do, they turn off the gas.
Mm-hmm.
And they turn off the electrical, but mostly the gas, because
Yes.
it doesn't make sense to try to put an end to the fire if the gas is still fueling the fire. So it's the same here. The most important is to liberate ourselves from the ignorance of our true nature, which is accomplished through the insight into our true nature. And then that which remains are the leftovers of the past, the imprint of ignorance in the body and in the mind. Now, since often in our childhood and early childhood, we have been exposed to ignorant parents or ignorant people around us, this exposure to ignorance may have left traces. And these traces are memorized both as thoughts and images, but also as contractions in the body, and these contractions have kind of become subconscious, and they are experienced as a feeling of discomfort, of depression, or sense of impending doom, fear, etc. And we usually don't want to look at this feeling. We constantly repress. We have this skeleton in the closet, and the skeleton wants to come out of the closet, but we push against the door to keep the door closed. So what we have to do is really to stop pushing to keep the door closed so that all the skeletons can come out of the closet. But we don't need to go to the closet to look into the past, to do a search into the past. We only need to deal with problems as they arise. If I feel a feeling of sense of impending doom, then if I welcome it, this feeling will tell me the story. Also, you were referring to past trauma, and I know that sometimes you can directly connect a contraction in the body, a subconscious contraction, and images in the mind, to a traumatic event, like this child who was put for hours in a closet as a punishment, and at some point he couldn't bear it, and then he internalizes this contraction. But in most cases, we cannot trace it back to a specific traumatic event. I mean, I know Freud wanted everything to be traced back to a traumatic event. No, because in most cases, in the presence of ignorance around us, at a very young age, we are like a virgin piece of paper, ready to receive the imprints of our surroundings. If we live with a mother who is depressed, she may mean well, but she's just depressed, and her face is always sad. Our face will become sad as a child. We will imitate mom, but if we imitate the sadness on her face, we will feel the sadness inside. Are you following me?
Yes.
And that is handed down to us.
Yes.
Not in one single traumatic event, but day after day through exposure. This is through exposure. But that also comes out at some point. But what is important before we do that is before we try to put off the fire, it's important to turn off the gas. Mm-hmm. which is accomplished by the understanding and the experience of our universal nature as consciousness. That puts an end to the most pernicious of all problems, which is the fear of death. The fear of death basically is the common ground of all the fears we have, the fear of absolute disappearance. As long as we have not dealt with the fear of death will keep generating all kinds of fears and desires.
So step one would be to play with the belief system, with the belief that consciousness is universal, not individual. And then sooner or later, step two would be dealing with fear of death or death.
No, when you discover the true nature of consciousness, the fear of death disappears. The fear of death exists only if there is this feeling that I am a separate consciousness. So the disappearance of a fear of death is the direct consequence or the direct effect of an insight of the true nature of consciousness, of its universal and eternal nature. And that could be called awakening or a glimpse of truth. And then, subsequently, there is a stabilization process in this happiness. The end game is happiness, is to be happy all the time, to be at peace and happy all the time. The first glimpse of truth, although it removes once and for all the existential fear, doesn't instantaneously remove all these traces in the body. In Sanskrit they call those the vasanas, that are the leftover of ignorance, both in the body as feeling systems and in the mind as belief systems. It takes time for these to dissolve, and as they dissolve, the relapses in ignorance become less and less frequent and of shorter and shorter duration. So it's like moving from a sky which is covered by clouds all the time, then you have a sky, you see a little piece of blue, and then you know that there is blue behind, and you end up in South California, and it's blue all the time. You see, so there is a huge difference between a sky which is blue all the time. If from time to time, once upon a week, you have a little white cloud that crosses it,
Yes.
and the sky which is always covered, and once upon a time, you have a little piece of blue that appears.
That's a big difference, yes.
Big difference.
Typically, in your experience, how long would such processes take then after the glimpse?
It varies on how strong the glimpse was, the kind of thickness of the vasanas, and how strong the desire for ultimate liberation is, for self-realization, which is for this happiness is. In my case, the desire was very strong, and the vasanas were relatively strong also. After 2 years, I was much better off. After 5 years, I was good, I was happy. But this happiness increases all the time, you see. It's not like it stops. It's like a crescendo in a symphony, in a Bruckner symphony, you know, it goes always, and you think it's over. No, there is one more revelation behind, because it's alive, it's not It's not like you reach a plateau and poof. No, it's a constant revelation of beauty, of...
Somehow it seems like in the beginning there is a narrow understanding of oneself, and this is expanding all the time with looking deeper into the
and the joy expands with that. It's just at some moment, imagine you walk on a road, and at some point walking on this road, you have left misery behind.
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps in hindsight you don't remember where on the road misery has been left behind. But now you are walking and you are just happy and free walking on this road. But on this road the landscape is always different and is growing more and more beautiful. You see, so that's the metaphor I would be using. Mm-hmm. At some point you have left misery behind you.
In my case, I had some phases of extreme bliss situations, and there was one point where I could not stand it, too much bliss, so I tried to get rid of that one, and somehow seemed to have succeeded. I saw that this bliss was created by a belief that was held that I have not deserved this, and when this seeing happened, then peace came, and silence, and a silent joy remained.
Often this attachment to bliss, there is something to it which is of the nature of the body attached to it. There is a bodily sensation attached to the bliss. They call it in Sanskrit Anandamaya Kosha, which is the illusion, the shift of the illusion of bliss. This as we get established in peace and happiness, these samadhis, these blissful states, they kind of disappear naturally because everything is perfect. You see what everything is just perfection. It's not like smoking a big joint,
No. It's just that. It's more like letting go any beliefs of limitation or imperfection, something like that. Just relaxing into this.
Yes.
Be with this somehow, without ideas of resistance and limitations. That's what's triggered here now. Yeah.
But we and we are this, and this is this, and it's so perfect and beautiful that
it's just a relaxed being. This is beautiful, relaxed. Natural, scientifically talking, it seems that there is some built-in bottom line of joy in these bodies, and that shines through eventually. If I would put it in words of natural science, of natural sciences, on a body level, but it's much bigger.
Do you still work as a physicist?
No, I never worked as a physicist. I work in industry as a business developer. And I did commissioning works, industrial stuff. Physics helped me with the philosophy side. So just, since quantum physics and theory of relativity, this intuitive day-to-day experience really got questioned.
It's beautiful. I use it because I use physics sometimes, modern physics, to show that our view of the world, the common view of the world of 99% of mankind is ridiculously conventional and small compared to the view of physics.
Yes, it is.
So the physics helps us in a sense thinking out of the box of our narrow concept about the world, because our concept, they are the concepts of the caveman, you know, they have not
Yes.
evolved much since then. And physics has evolved, and when you see the nature of space and time in the general theory of relativity and mass and energy, and when you see in quantum physics, in quantum mechanics, this understanding that which we perceive, it's just the interaction with the physical universe and the perceiving apparatus, but the physical universe in the absence of being perceived is in a state of superimposition of all the possibilities. That's
Sorry, I got a disturb here. Sorry.
your kid is sick.
Yeah, she was sick yesterday, and so I picked her up and helped her. And tonight I will pick her up again. She comes later with the bus. She does not feel so well, so I will pick her up. But coming back to that physics, I did not get all of the sentences you said. What
I was saying that in the world which we see through quantum mechanics is very different than from our common view of the world, which is the view of a solid world existing no matter whether we perceive it or not, whereas in quantum mechanics it is the measuring, which means the observation of a system that in fact forces the system to show its true color, and that in the absence of such a measurement, the system is in a kind of a limbo state of superimposition of the various eigenvalues of the observables, right? And that it is only when you make a measurement of the spin of the electron that it is going to tell us plus 1/2 or negative 1/2.
Exactly.
And in between it is spinning from both sides, I mean, in both directions. I mean, it's...
It's not really intuitive. Yeah, but I brought it down to also to this. Everything is connected. Yeah, this is apparent as in theory of relativity as well as in quantum mechanics. Yeah? So from both ends, the pointer is to there is no separation. Basically, everything is connected. Perception is connected with the phenomenon, and the other way around, and through gravity the whole universe is connected and interacting.
But even in classical physics, when you think about it, everything is connected since the laws are universal. Since everything in the universe is subjected to the same laws, there is a connection there, right? Otherwise, if there was no connection, there will be a law here and a law there, like there is a law in Germany, and there is a different law in Syria. You see, so...
even there, even there, Subject to apparent laws, which we don't understand really, but we have ideas of it. Best guesses. I would challenge you on this philosophy a little bit. Yeah, philosophizing is nice, but what my experience is, philosophy usually uses language, and language by itself has many elements of separation and unclarities. But what I would recommend is just sensing and perceiving beyond words in meditation or so. I think there deeper insights are more probable. Otherwise there is too much distraction and confusion by using words when philosophizing. So fundamentally we are the same. We're saying the same. We say you have to take the body into these processes.
Yeah. But also, when I was 18, and I had my first, just before the baccalaureate, the French Abitur, we had 1 year philosophy. And I was very disappointed because upon reading the philosopher, Sartre and so on, I was under the impression that thought could never reach reality, that reality was on this plane, and that thinking was on the parallel plane, and they would never connect. So so that thought will never reach reality. And in fact, I was proven wrong perhaps 10 years later when I had this transformative experience first through reading the books of Krishnamurti, but then most importantly being with my teacher. And the reason is this, is that not all words reach their referent, which is the object they refer to. For instance, the word table is not going at the end of the word table. You are not going to have a table.
Yes.
So usually words don't deliver the object they refer to.
The words are not the things. Yeah.
But there is an exception to this rule. And the exception is the word consciousness or I. Because the word consciousness, it appears in consciousness. It is like an island, the word, in an ocean of consciousness. So when the island vanishes under sea, what remains is consciousness. So the word consciousness has a different quality because it takes us to the experience of consciousness, and the word I is the same. That's why sages such as Ramana Maharshi would recommend the self-inquiry, and that's why it is an effective method, because when we think I appears in the real I. Therefore, the word I points toward, not only points toward its own referent, but delivers it. As I vanishes, consciousness, which is the nature, the substance of I, remains. So there is a path that goes through thought, but there is a path that goes through feeling, and there is a path that goes through perception, and eventually we need the three paths. No one is better than the other, because the sage Atmananda Krishna Menon said once, you shouldn't stop the search until you have reached the goal. And the goal is when the thought doesn't take you away, when the feeling doesn't take you away, and when the sense perception doesn't take you away. So you need to have found the truth on those three levels and to be establishing it on those three levels. And they are all important. That's why thinking is important. You cannot say the mind is useless, thinking is useless, because it is useful in pointing to presence, and it is useful also in deconstructing the belief system that the mind itself has built as it was working as a slave of ignorance. And now, as a servant of the Absolute, as a servant of liberation, it can deconstruct the big building of belief system that it has built. So it fulfills a mission in that sense in the liberation process. But it is not sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in Plato's Academia, that is little known, but they used to teach philosophy, of course, but they were teaching also something else. They called it gymnosophia. And it was some kind of yoga, science of the body. Of course, they don't tell you that in the universities, but these ancient masters, they knew that thinking was not sufficient, but that meditation and feeling and perceiving had to be invited to the party.
It is an integration of all the aspects, this oneness to pervade all aspects. The illusion has to fall on in all aspects where it
exactly
can be this.
And just also as our life was previously compartmentalized, that we have our friends, we had our family, we had our job, we had our private. In fact, you realize that all of that dissolves, all these separations dissolve.
Yeah.
Everything is integrated.
The belief that it could not be that way falls away. The belief that something is missing falls away. Even all beliefs fall away. Even it's not unity and it's not separation. It's beyond both.
All the questions fall away because the mind is satisfied. And that's something very new, a mind which has no questions. And not because the mind could formulate an answer, because the answer cannot be formulated because it's a living answer. We are the answer. Yeah. But nevertheless, the mind is satisfied by the answer we are, and the mind has no more questions. And then as a result, the mind is peaceful. The mind is
satisfied, rests.
Satisfied, and it is not a mind which is not active, because you can do work with your computer, you can answer questions, you can play tennis, you can do all kinds of things, but or play music, but the mind is happy, is satisfied. There is no agitation. Everything is flowing.
Yes, no problem. No heavy stuff. No loads.
No agitation.
No agitation. Yeah, it's just. But it can be used, so nothing is lost. Nothing is lost.
And in parallel, the body also is relaxed.
Yes.
So no tensions, no unnecessary tensions. The body is transparent. The body is not felt like being here, but the body is, as we were saying earlier, is felt in its limitlessness.
There's no limitations and there is no contractions. So what? That's interesting that we come to that point. During a meditation retreat, I had some glimpse. That was one would probably call it mystical experience, but there was a deep experience. And since then, these contractions in the body, which happened during the meditations, they just disappeared and never came back. That's just an example for what you said.
It's a body which is perhaps like the body of a newborn child. Before you have identified with the body is not felt. It's a universe which is your body. I had this story of someone having a spiritual awakening. He went to the woods in the afternoon and he had a siesta. And as he woke up, in line with his two legs were two fallen trees, two fallen pine trees, long trees. And his first impression was that these were also his legs. And then he realized, yes, it's a true thing. It is as much my legs as this, because I am the universe, I am the world. The world is my extended body. Because, as universal consciousness, consciousness is universal. The world is my extended body.
It cannot be other than that. Huh? It is. It's a physical expression of mirroring of that. Huh?
But it is important that the body, if you will, that the way we think, the way we feel, the way we perceive, be in line with with our experience, our glimpse of consciousness being universal. You see? So there is a realignment of the way we think, of the way we feel, of the way we perceive, so that we will feel, think, and perceive in a way which is consistent with universal consciousness and no longer consistent with personal consciousness.
Yes. It's just a different operating mode somehow. I don't know how to express it. As you said, as you suggested, you lived 40 years in the assumption that consciousness is individualized. Now play with the other way around, and then this happens automatically. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Reingold, I think we
are done for this time. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. It was sweet meeting you.